It's Friday, July 30th, and the time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Moves by some employers to impose what appears to be vaccine ultimatums on workers, despite a social partnership agreement to hold strain until the completion of a national dialogue, has not gone down well with some trade union leaders. One employer, Lionel C. Hill Supermarket, has been under tremendous scrutiny over a memo informing employees to be vaccinated by August 31st or present a negative COVID-19 test result on a bi-weekly basis. The supermarket's chief executive officer, Richard Ashby, told Barbados Today that having given 2 months' notice, he could no longer delay the policy.
There's no waiting. I gave 2 months notice, as you would see there. You have people who have problems, sinuses, asthma, babies, diabetes, all working. They are a very high risk. It is my obligation to protect them as employees. That is the only reason.
Right. And what about what some persons consider to be the right of those employees who are not yet in a position where they feel safe taking
I don't know. They have rights, and those who is pregnant and those who has diabetes also have rights. And I have a right also to protect my workers. So you can decide who got the biggest right.
Okay.
And that will be the Supreme Court would decide that, I guess.
However, General Secretary of the Unity Workers Union, Senator Caswell Franklin, on Thursday warned that some players in the local business community are creating the perfect conditions for general strikes and constructive dismissal claims before the law courts.
That is called a constructive dismissal. If you force me to do something against my will, an employer, and it is not something that you have the right to do, the employer can face a tribunal, an employment rights tribunal, a case of unfair dismissal, and it will be constructive dismissal. Constructive dismissal means that they have taken action that you cannot tolerate. It violates your rights, and you can determine that you are not going to work under those conditions, and you can terminate your own services and claim compensation after dismissal. Of course, that workers should take right now is a general strike.
At the same time, President of the Congress of Trade Unions and Staff Associations of Barbados, Edwin O'Neill, declared that he had already reached out to the Barbados Private Sector Association about the circumstances under which one company has taken forceful vaccine measures. Meantime, the Barbados Employers Confederation, in a statement, endorsed the agreements made at the social partnership.
The social partnership has agreed to a process which the BEC supports. National consultation is essential to fully ventilate the issues, which include considering the balance of both personal responsibility and collective impact. Science points to the fact that vaccines significantly reduce disease transmission, serious illness, and therefore also death. Consequently, we at the BEC encourage persons to speak to their trusted healthcare providers and receive the vaccine where medically advised. Surveillance also remains paramount, and hence testing is also supported. The BEC continues to engage in discussions of national importance and will actively contribute in any national and sectoral discussion on the matter.
That was Executive Director at the Barbados Employers Confederation, Sheena Meyers-Granville. In other news of this Friday, there are contrasting views on the latest economic report from the Central Bank of Barbados, presented by Governor Cleviston Haynes on Wednesday. Emmanuel Joseph has been listening to the responses of some key leaders in the country and files of this report.
The Economist identified one insight from the governor's report that the island was now at the stage of building a platform for beyond the pandemic. But he said how the country chooses to build that platform determines whether the recovery is fair and sustainable over the next 2 to 5 years. But particularly heavy criticism came from the Democratic Labour Party through its president Verla de Pisa. The PISA is adamant that the statistics of this latest central bank report bear no relationship to the reality faced by many Barbadians today. She said it is meaningless to the average Barbadian for the bank to report growth of 5.5% in the economy without stressing that this is when compared to the previous period and or the same period of last year. The political leader therefore called on the Mia Mottley administration to present a budget to the nation as a matter of urgency so her government can show the people it cares with a clear plan that it is not just an empty slogan. In his response, Chairman of the Barbados Private Sector Association, Edward Clark, told Barbados Today the pronouncements by the governor were no surprise to him, recognizing that the economy was starting to pick back up slowly in the last couple of months. But Clark agrees with the central bank governor that the vaccination program was going to play a big part in how the country succeeds going forward.
It is important, Emmanuel, that people understand the economy is very dependent on the tourism, and what we do in Barbados in the next couple of months, next 3 months or so, is going to make a huge difference to our success in attracting visitors back here. How we manage our health situation, how we manage the COVID crisis, and how we manage our own vaccination program in order to retain our status in the European market, our green status with the UK market, and ensure that we can welcome back the North Americans in numbers.
For opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley, one of the major aspects of the central bank's report was moving the timeline set for achieving debt sustainability of 60% of GDP from financial year 2034 to 2036. The opposition leader also noted that the premise on which Barbados entered into the contract with the International Monetary Fund was to be able to access funding from the various other financial lending institutions.
You also would realize that we have not been able to access international private capital markets because of the economic position that the country has been in. The arrangement with the IMF has helped us to achieve, like I said, access to funding from the institutional entities. And my question is, would we want to prolong the arrangement with the IMF to bring us to a place again where we can also access funding from international private capital markets? That is a question.
That was opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley, and I'm Emmanuel Joseph for Barbados Today.
There has been a steady increase in the number of individuals registering businesses in Barbados. That report from Acting Registrar of the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office, Tamisha Rochester. However, the CAIPO official was not in a position to immediately say what the increase was in terms of actual numbers or percentage of registrations when compared to the previous year. But she expressed satisfaction with the development.
We have found that recently, especially since COVID, a lot of persons are turning to entrepreneurship, registering their own businesses, etc. So that has resulted really on an increase in the filings and the applications that we have here at the office. We've seen an increase certainly since the onset of COVID. As you know, a lot of persons would have been out of work, a lot of sectors have closed down and places have shut, etc. And we find that persons then are seeking alternative methods to get an income. So we have seen a steady increase as the COVID pandemic has gained momentum. And I think it is very important that we continue to facilitate and encourage persons to be able to be self-sufficient, to be able to generate that income, to have the options for basically supporting themselves and them and their families and contributing economically to society.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To developments in the Caribbean now, the Grenada government gets set to implement another COVID-19 economic stimulus package, given the number of persons in the country still without a source of income. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell made the announcement in an address to the nation on Thursday. He said the $36 million program is expected to be rolled out in September this year.
I am painfully aware that hundreds of our nationals are still without a source of income. That is why government is now in the advanced stages of preparation for the implementation of another COVID-19 economic stimulus package, which is intended to benefit close to 9,000 Grenadians directly, with another 10,000 to benefit indirectly. This $36 million package will be funded through the Caribbean Development Bank under the Inter-American Development Bank, Caribbean Development Bank Global Loan Program, and the government of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. This support program is expected to be rolled out in September 2021.
And finally, U.S. President Joe Biden has announced sweeping new guidelines amid the COVID-19 virus surges. He has called for states to offer $100 to the newly vaccinated in an effort to address flagging vaccination rates, and issued a strict new vaccine requirement for the country's largest workforce, U.S. federal workers, to show proof of vaccination or be subjected to mandatory testing and masking. More from CBS News.
Today, President Biden called out vaccine holdouts and pleaded with them to change their minds.
If, in fact, you're unvaccinated, you present a problem to yourself, to your family, and to those with whom you work.
The Delta variant is driving the latest deadly surge, and so are the 100 million people who are eligible but remain unvaccinated.
Too many people are dying.
To reverse the trend, the president touted new incentives, like urging states to offer $100 to every newly vaccinated American.
I know that paying people to get vaccinated might sound unfair to folks who've gotten vaccinated already. But here's the deal. If incentives help us beat this virus, I believe we should use them.
He also announced that all civilian federal employees, plus contractors, will have to get vaccinated or get tested for COVID-19 weekly or twice a week. They'll be required to wear a mask, social distance, and might have official travel restricted.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.